See, okay, so with the paint stick method, involves a piece of wood to be put behind the drywall in a place where there's just too much. Now I know I could buy one of those products, put it over there, plaster on. I just don't want to do that. It just gives me a certain, like I said, a certain pleasure to do it really well and to know it's done well. So I've made a little doodad like this. I'm going to put glue on it. You see in there? See, there's the paint stick behind the drywall and the paint stick on top. Okay, now I'm going to tighten it against the drywall. Now this has the same effect as when you clamp glue. Things that you glue should be clamped. Now let's get this. Kind of have to hold it into place. It wants to twist, of course. All right. I put my finger back there. I can feel that it's clamped against the drywall. Like I said, a professional drywaller wouldn't want to do this. It takes too much time. Because what I'll need to do is I'll need to do this and then leave it for a day. But you know, it's my own house. I can do that. I can come back tomorrow. Now, I had hoped to do this a bit differently, but I'm going to try and do it all today. I have another paint stick here. It's going to fit here. I've pre-cut out a couple of pieces of drywall. See, these pieces of drywall, they're kind of too small to put screws in. But you know, this glue, it works really well. And you may say, glue, I'd rather have screws. But you know, drywall's just glue. It's just clay and glue and paper. So there's no harm in glue. All right, come on, get in there. Get in there. Cutting it too close. Now this is not my preferred method. I would have preferred to have had the one already done. Come on, get in there. But Alright. Now, is this piece going to fit? Probably not. It never does. Never does. Is it going to fit? Alright, there it is. Okay, so that fits. Are you still in there? Make sure that my piece of wood behind is still fitting because I'm going to clamp it. Alright. Alright, so that's there, that's there. I'm going to tighten that back up. So the paint stick behind the little piece is going to glue to either side of the drywall. Now, well, look at there, I did too good of a job. How am I going to get my paint stick in there to clamp that down? There we go, right there. I'm going to go for the seam between the two. I know there's a 2x4 in there that I can get into. Okay, so my gluing is now clamped down, and tomorrow I'll take those paint sticks off and I'll tape and plaster that up, and I'll have a good solid filling of that hole. Like I said, you wouldn't do this if you were a professional, because, you know, it takes too long. You don't want to do something and then come back the next day to keep working on it. But in your own house, where you're doing it a little bit each day, no problem. And, you know, then you feel good about it. Every time you come in to see your job that you've done, you can feel good about it. So this is the next day after the glue has had lots of time to set, and I'm taking off my paint stick method of drywall repair. Okay, so you can see that other paint stick behind there. It's in there good and solid. It went in a little crooked, as it turns out, but that doesn't matter. It's holding my drywall on really strong, and that's what I cared about. Now this one's coming off as well. Now this one, like I said, is drilled into a 2x4 that's back there. It could have been another paint stick. Same thing, my drywall is held in good and strong, and that's what I care about. So now I take the outer paint sticks off, and I'm going to fill it with mud, whatever you call this stuff. You see here, there's my paint stick. There's no drywall there, but it's not a very big spot. And because there's something solid behind it, I don't feel bad about just plopping my mud right on top. See, if I bought one of those commercial products, it'd be some kind of plastic screen or something to hold the mud in place. I don't need to do that. I'm just going to mud this right like that. Yesterday, when I did this, I made some joke about why I feel compelled to kind of overdo this quality-wise. You know, this is just a laundry room, and nobody's going to care. Except for me. I mean, I care because I live in the house. But, you know, if we sell the house, nobody's going to say, oh, Mr. Springer, we're going to give you more for this house because you did such a good job on your laundry room. I was explaining to Vicki that, you know, quality is really a gift. It's a gift to the future. And it's why I think Christians they're more likely to make quality products, because you just have to have that attitude. You either do it for yourself because you want to do quality things, or you give it to the future. It's a gift. So, Mr. Whoever buys this house in 20 years, my gift to you is that I have sealed this up really well. Anyway, I made some kind of joke about my German heritage. And something I don't understand is why I do feel compelled to do this quality stuff. I can't really blame Christianity in this case. That thought of quality being a gift to the future is fairly new in my life. But the idea of kind of overdoing it has been around for a long time. And I don't really understand where it came from. because my parents didn't teach it to me. You know, I never got beaten for, you know, not doing exactly as my parents told me, or I never had anybody say things like, if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing right, or any of those kinds of things. And I thought about it, and I think I figured it out. I think I know where it came from, and I blame my dear sister. My dear sister is about 9 years older than me, 8 or 9, kind of lose track. And when I was 11, I was in the hospital. She came and visited me, so that would have made her like 19, 20, I don't know. And that's the first conversation I really had with her. First that I remember, you know, we lived in the same house before that. She babysat me lots of times, but, you know, to sit down and have a conversation, never done it. And she told me this story. Probably she thought I was interested. It had Germans in it. The war, when I was a kid, the war was still very fresh in everyone's mind. Lots of war movies, and I loved war movies. Anyway, she told me this German story. She said that three guys went to India to write books about elephants, and the American came home with a book titled Elephants. And the Englishman came home with the book titled Indian Elephants, because he was smart enough to know that there are elephants in Africa as well. And the German came home with a book titled something very long, you know, I don't know, nocturnal mating habits of the Northeast Indian bull elephant, or something like that. And it's kind of funny, right? But the message is, and something I took to heart without knowing it, is don't just learn something a little bit, but learn it deeply. Really try to understand what's going on with everything you do. Learn things you don't think you need to know. And as you understand them, then you can start to use those rules in your favor. So I took it to heart. And now how that applies here, so Chris, it's your fault if I'm a little bit more German than I was taught to be. It's your fault. How that applies here is I'm putting on this paper over the plaster. Now if you do plastering, what they'll tell you is you put the mud down, and the mud is like the glue for the paper. But if, you know, thanks to the internet, you can find out just about anything you care to if you drill down. And what I found out is that the glue that's in the mud is PVA. Well, that's the same glue as this. This is PVA, polyvinyl acetate, or sometimes polyvinyl alcohol, but that gets kind of deeper because the polyvinyl alcohol turns into acetate or whatever. So PVA glue in the mud, PVA glue here. So I got the idea, well, screw that. I'm not going to just go with the mud, I'm going to go with the actual glue. And here's why. If you just glue down with mud, your glue will come up. And if you look up here, and hold the camera, sorry it's going to shake around. See right there, I took the wallpaper off this wall. It's crappy wallpaper anyway, and so I just had a spray bottle and a sponge, and I was taking off. Well, that was enough. Oops, sorry about that. To lift the paper, and that happens a lot. You'll often see places where the paper lifts up, and kind of spoils the view of a wall. Well, when I glue it down with my PVA glue, instead of relying on the PVA glue that's in the mud, it's not going to come up. And that's why I do it. It's this paper is not going to come up. So you'll see, that's what I'm doing. I put my glue on. Now the only problem is it has to get near the edges, and you don't want to spread it around with your finger because that's just messy. So I put it on like as much as I can, as near the edges, and then I spread it by just sliding it back and forth, and that gets glue near the edges, up, down. That just spreads it out the same as I would do with a finger if I were going to do it that way. Now, this is going to stick. It's going to stick really well. It essentially becomes part of the drywall, because like I said, drywall, it's just gypsum and glue. That's probably PVA glue as well. Now this won't come up, and that's a concern because of course this is a laundry room. You would expect things to get wet a little bit. So I am nailing this down really well.